Let's talk about the no Sola. I don't want to work with user-friendly people like Nelson. I am not in the mood for this bullshit, old man. Okay, to the French guy who says he doesn't understand. Okay, so let's oversimplify. So this is your mountain, right? This is your basic mountain. So normally, a mountain is a cone. This would be easier if we had a program that would show that has a physics engine, which I could utilize to show you what my point. So this is our mountain, and um, of course, a mountain has a lot of um, a lot of debris on it because it's never just a mound, right? So sometimes you have bits of rock and then trees, more rocks, more trees, and then the trees also have their own considerations, right? So you can't grow a tree on a rock, for example. So normally a tree grows, or tree stands grow in clumps. It means this is an area that is conducive, like this is an area that is conducive. Well, we're trying to simplify because they didn't understand. This is an area that is conducive to growing trees. But let's say this other area has a lot of rocks. So maybe it doesn't have a lot of trees. Maybe it just has tiny plants, right? Because it needs space. Okay. So let's say I oversimplify my mountain to only have this many clumps. 1, 2, 3. This is a rock. I'll color the rocks in red. Okay, and my trees in green. Just so these are trees. And then yeah, and then little plants. Okay, so when it starts to rain, I'm gonna mark my rain as right. So you have to understand that rain also has rain mechanics. You have direction, so depending on the wind direction. So for example, is it coming from the north? Is it coming from the south? It's easier if you have a body of water. This is your body of water. Because normally, let me think. Is it going towards? Okay, normally it moves. It cycles like this. So the hot air moves towards the cooler. So hot to cold, hot to cold. And then it pushes the cold air that's already in there. So nagsicirculate yung air. So this area is actually cooler than let's say ito yung tubig. This area is going to be cooler than just land. So this is land. And there's no water inside. It's all land. All of it is land. So this is hotter. May radiation kasi yung soil, yung cement, yung rocks. It radiates heat. So, if there's a nearby body of water, that acts as a cooling system. Which means some of that hot air is going to move in there and it's going to cycle because it's going to push the colder, the other air out. It's going to go like that. Whee! Okay. So it's easier when we have a body of water nearby. Kasi if it's a locally produced rain or it's hindi siya bagyo coming from outside, the chances are the directional is going in this direction. We can sort of assume that some of that air is basically coming from this side, right, of the map, which means it's going to have a very interesting effect on the shape of that mountain. Let's say we split that. This is still going to be relatively smooth this quarter right here. Right on the other side. Okay. So that is if we have a nearby water source. If we don't, so let's say this is just land. All of this is land. So that means if we have rain, it will, so you have rain falling here, and then those find their way down to the base of the mountain. But if you have rain, parang ano, 'di ba sa window, like if you watch the path of a raindrop, the path a raindrop makes, it could go in this direction, and then with repeated rainfall or with persistent rainfall, it's gonna look like this. Right? Kasi, bakit siya nagaganon? Ibig sabihin, may dust dito, may resistance, may surface tension. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to, it resists this space. Initially, it will, with persistent rainfall, it's just gonna overtake that. So it's not the same with trees, kasi, let's say this is the path of my rain. It will take, water usually takes the easiest path. So walang resistance, first of all, it will seek the lowest area. Naturally. And then second, it will go down. It will travel down. And so, assume that, let's say, may channel dito. It's a little bit lower than the other areas. Dito dadaan yung ibang tubig. Right? But it will encounter this clump. And so once it does, it's going to diffuse, basically. And what comes out of that is not a channel anymore. This was an entire channel. Unless we hit another large blockage, which is this one. This is a boulder. So what that does is it forces the diffused water to pull together again, and then we're going to have another channel, right? So it's the same here. So sabihin natin may channel ka rin dito, and this gets bigger, right? This gets bigger because you have rain. The rain doesn't stop here. The rain actually goes all the way. So the channel gets larger as it goes down the mountain. So meron tayo dito, and then it encounters the clump of trees, and this is why we encourage planting trees on mountains to prevent landslides. magdi-diffuse na naman yung water. Alright. Tapos saka lang siya ulit medyo diffuse na siya. Why? Kasi the trees actually absorb a lot of water. So hindi siya katulad nito. This is a stronger channel. By the time this comes down, this would have been reduced greatly by the clump of trees. And then nag-clump together siya dito, nag-group together to. So, you're going to see this larger expanse of nothing, right? But that's impossible because it's made of soil, rocks, and may or may not be covered by grass. So, let's predict that. Let's say you've got clumps of grass here, which means it's going to affect how all that rain is going to travel, right? Dadaan siya dito, and mas maliit kasi nagpunta na siya dito eh. Nagpunta na siya dito, 'di ba? Nagre-distribute na siya. So this is like leftover or yung raindrops lang na maliit. And then magbaband together siya on this side or on this side. So, medyo lalaki siya over time. So, you can actually sort of, now, imagine that this happens over the span of 100 years. Because it's a really old mountain. How is that going to, you can essentially, you can predict, or you can reliably predict, or you can sort of predict, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You can sort of predict based on these favored channels, how the surface of that mountain is going to change in maybe even a decade or 100 years, and this will actually sorry, hindi kita. Lalalim to. And it will keep doing that. This will be very deep because this is a strong channel. And then, syempre, uusog yung material, of course. Pag umusog yung material, aangat na to. Because it keeps getting pushed aside, right? Minsan may nagde-deposit na nagka-clump siya. So over a little bit, yeah. Pero over, it's nothing for a day or a week, but centuries. We're talking about centuries. And so eventually this mountain is going to look like this. So i-shade ko sila accordingly. I'm gonna go with Dali. Okay. So this is gonna go like this. And this would have a reaction. And this would have a reaction. And this might stay a little level. So, magiging ganyan siya. Let me just remove. Yan na yung map niya. It has now changed over time. And then this has runoff. So, naturally, this is going to spread. It's not gonna stop there. And then sometimes may encounter siyang rocks dito. It's gonna change path. You see? And that would still be pretty consistent in terms of mapping.